What is up, guys? It's Stealthy here, back with another video for you guys. Today we're going to be looking at this Lockjaw high roll deck that I've kind of put together. I think it's a bit of a sleeper in the meta right now, as Loki is running rampant. And so obviously it's kind of a take on the classic Lockjaw Thor high roll sort of deck. We've got High Evo in here, and the hopes is that whenever your opponent plays Loki, they're just stealing some really high cost cards that don't really get a whole lot of value because they can't really cheat them out, or they're getting things like Jubilee and Lockjaw and they're just cycling a lot smaller cards than what we would have to cycle out. Or they might hit something like the Jane Foster and there's no zero cost cards in their deck to hit, or if they hit the Thor, putting the hammer in their deck could really lessen their draws, or even giving them High Evo. High Evo is a terrible one for them to get. So a lot of the things that Loki can pull from this really kind of sucks, and so that's kind of the idea, is our deck is specifically designed to do this, and if Loki tries to steal from us, they're not going to have as much success. Right now this is a flex slot in Scorpion. I'm not too sure what can go here. If I had Spider Ham, I would probably replace him with Spider Ham. He's one that I'm working on trying to get right now, but really any kind of cheaper sort of card that you want to throw in there could go in there. You could put in Iceman if you'd rather kind of slow down their game plan and freeze them up, or any kind of 1 or 2 cost card can really kind of fit into that slot. Scorpion works. He's perfectly fine. He just kind of hits that curve. You're not ever going to do anything on turn 1, obviously. Turn 2, if you have the Scorpion, you'll make the play, and then turn 3 you're looking for Lockjaw Wasp or Thor into like a Jubilee followed by the Jane Foster, and then you can have a bunch of your zero cost stuff in the Wasp and the Hammer to juice up your Thor, cycle the Wasp to the Lockjaw, and then play a massive Hulk on turn 6. You're rarely playing the Infinite, obviously. He's mainly just there to cycle through with the Lockjaw. Getting a Doom from the Lockjaw is huge. And then we've just got Chavez in the deck for that added consistency to make sure we're hitting that Lockjaw Wasp on turn 3 if at all possible, and to just kind of ensure we're kind of curving out the way we want to. We've got Arrow in the deck because pulling out an Arrow from the Lockjaw can just be very big and helpful for us. A lot of times your opponent's not going to play into your Lockjaw lane. They're just going to give up that lane and try and let you win out 2 others. They're going to try and win out the other 2 lanes. And so Arrow's great for pulling them into that lane. Or if you just feel like you've already won your Lockjaw lane, you can pull them away from that. You can fill up a lane with the Arrow. Arrow's super flexible, and she's I really like her in this deck. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into some games and see how it works out. So our first opponent is AIM. He's got what looks to be probably going to be a discard deck if he plays by what his profile icon is. Obviously mine's Loki. I'm not playing Loki. My goal is just to beat Loki. So obviously, like I said, we had no turn 1 play. Not going to be expected to have one. We will go ahead and drop the Scorpion. Since they haven't played anything yet, he'll get great value. I think we're going to drop him into this 3rd slot because worst comes to worst, if this is a bad location for us, we can just move him out with New York on turn 6. So our opponent got a free Wasp, so they're going to have a 1-2. Deep Space is very interesting for us. We can always just drop our Hulk in there on turn 6, so that's great. We have the Thor into Jane Foster. So I think we're just going to try and win out Monster Metropolis, and then we can just drop the Hulk and win out Deep Space. Because we've got this solid curve, I think we go ahead and snap on it, because we're feeling pretty good with the way this is going to go for us. It's looking like our opponent will probably be Loki, seeing that they've got the Mirage. That's the most common spot for this. We're okay with that because that's kind of what we designed this deck to be. So pulling the Thor is fine. We're not too worried about it. We can obviously at the very end we can cycle a bunch of stuff into New York. We don't have a good turn 4 play. I think we're fine with just playing High Evo though, because we're gonna basically guarantee ourselves a win on Deep Space with Hulk. So for turn 5, Foster to draw the Hammer for Thor, and then turn 6 is Hulk, Wasp,
Wind
and the
aid
Hammer.
my hand.
we're okay with that. Like I said, we're not looking to win that lane. We've got these 2 lanes that we're going to win. Just going ahead with the Jane Foster, then Hulk, Wasp. We do have an issue now though, because we've played the High Evo. We won't be able to play everything we want to. We won't be able to play the hammer down as well. Or we'll probably just forego the Wasp and play the hammer instead since they flooded. We could always just Jubilee instead though and try and win out this lane. That feels very risky for us though. I think we just stick to the plan and we just won't be able to play Wasp. We'll play Wasp in a deep space for the added point just in case for a tiebreaker, but okay, so Legion makes everything about this very interesting. So we are able to play out everything we want to play now. The question is, how do we want to play this? And our opponent retreated. I still think we definitely would have won that match, given that we got the Mjolnir with the Wasp and the 14 power Hulk. So obviously beating out, I don't know what this deck was. It looks like a combination of Loki, move Legion stuff, even with the Storm. I don't know, very interesting deck, but we got the win nonetheless. So we'll jump into this next one. Alright, for our second match, we're up against Vahan, Spider-Man Avatar. We've got an interesting hand. We've got the Wasp, and we hit the Lockjaw. So now the question becomes, do we snap back into this? I don't think we snap back at them. Strange Academy is going to make things interesting, but I think we're fine with playing into the snap because we have our turn 3 Lockjaw Wasp. We've also got the turn 6 Hulk. Raft will make things very interesting, especially since we didn't. It would have been nice if we could have drawn into Scorpion, but we've still got a chance to win out the Raft. So our opponent's High Evo as well. Given that they're playing the Shocker, I'm betting it's the turn 7 Infinite She-Hulk deck. And so that'll probably be a tough matchup for us since they're designed to go the distance. See a Luke Cage, Misty Knight. So unless we could draw back into Wasp, which we do. So we can get the Raft as well because we can cycle the Wasp and go ahead and play out Thor. So we obviously won't be able to draw Thor's hammer, draw Mjolnir, because we already hit the Jane Foster, but giving us this free 6 drop in the Raft I think will be very beneficial to us because it'll allow us to compete with them. And we're still putting a substantial amount of power cycling the Wasp. So Alioth is a huge draw for us. We hit the Jubilee, unfortunately. Easily the worst draw we could have cycled into. But okay, that is not something that I was expecting. Ghost Fighter pool with the Maximus. I think we try and do some shenanigans where we arrow and force whatever they play over here to the right, and then we Alioth it. Because Alioth will destroy everything that they play down for it. And then this way we can turn 6 Hulk, and so maybe we can win out mid and left. We've also got the Wasp, so we can still compete for the right too. So this is interesting. I don't know how this will trigger, so I guess we killed off our own arrow amazingly. And then the Alioth doesn't even trigger. So that's an interesting interaction for us there. Not something I expected to happen. They're probably going to be able to just win out mid. I mean, all they've got to do is drop like a Chavez there. So on this, I think we definitely retreat. That interaction was not how I anticipated that to go. Alioth did absolutely nothing for us, and we killed off our own arrow. So, very unfortunate play. We didn't know how that was going to work, but play we made nonetheless. kind of costed us the game, but it happens. We'll go ahead and jump into the third match here and see what we can come away with. Alright guys, for our next game we're up against a Minimal Bagel. So we've got the Chain Foster, we got Wasp, so now we're just looking for that turn 3 Lockjaw. We've got Scorpion for turn 2. At this point, we might as well just play the Mantis, see if we can get something from our opponent. If they're going to play anywhere, it's probably going to be here, or it'll be this right location if they are playing Nebula. So we make the read. They got the free rocket from the hub, so they're also getting a benefit. There's the Nebula from our opponent, which I think we're going to play over the Scorpion, because I think Nebula is going to net us a lot more value than the Scorpion will. We'd like to hit the Lockjaw right here if possible. We do not, and given that that's Hala, our opponent's definitely going to try and play into there, so we're going to have to try and support this with a Thor. See Electro by our opponent. So Electro plus Daredevil is indicating to me probably Galactus, or we're seeing some sort of control with Professor X. Probably Galactus, but Professor X will be in both of those decks. So that only leaves this lane, so we don't want to lock up that lane. So I think we're okay with dropping a Jubilee mid. It's a good thing we have Prio, because it could be a Professor X. It's a Shang-Chi by our opponent. So that was immense value for our opponent with that Shang-Chi. I think we're okay with playing the Arrow to fill up this lane on them. And then we save the Wasp and the Mjolnir. They might lock down this mid lane. If it's Galactus, they can't play it into Hala to win. So I think this is the only play that we really need to worry about making right now. It's just playing the Arrow. Okay, so we've seen Alioth by our opponent. We have to be able to win out 2 lanes. I don't foresee that being quite possible for us. We definitely won outright. We would almost need our Thor to be in another lane. At 9, be 11, put us at 12. If they add anything, yeah, there's just nothing we can do to win this game. The Alioth really screwed us over there.
Escaped.
So nothing we can do against Alioth, guys. Brand new card just came out today. Clearly gonna be a menace to some of the things that can be done. The Daredevil into Electro, allowing the turn 5 Alioth read to just guarantee destroy whatever we play. Very difficult for us, but a new deck that we'll have to try and work around, I guess. Also a big struggle that we're gonna face, in addition to trying to beat out this Loki deck. So we'll go ahead and jump into the next match, guys. Probably the last one for you. Alright, for our final match, we're up against Arxa. We've got Scorpion, Wasp, Doom, High Evo in our opening hand. The Wasp is nice. We've got half of our puzzle looking for that Lockjaw for the turn 3. Miniaturized Lab is going to be an interesting one for us, as we can't get into that too early. I think we will go ahead and drop the Scorpion just to put some stats down in there before it closes off. Opponent chooses to play an Hala, going with an Angela. Collapse Mine is interesting for us. I think we're okay with just passing here, getting rid of those rocks. Only having one lane to play into is going to be kind of difficult. So chances are, if we play this Jubilee, we're probably going to roll into... We're either rolling into something really good or we're rolling into Lockjaw. And so with that in mind, I think we will prematurely play the Wasp so that we can hopefully cycle that too, because we really want to win this Hala and kill off the Angela if at all possible. So our opponent doesn't even play into it. We roll into the Lockjaw like we anticipated, so we get the Wasp and we get to cycle her out. Into a Chavez. See a Shuri come out by our opponent. At this point, we can probably expect a Nimrod, and Nimrod to split through both lanes. If we play the arrow, it's not going to matter because they're still going to play here. The Shuri's still just going to pull it over, and the Shuri will still trigger. So there's really no benefit. There's no benefit to us playing Thor because we won't get the draw. So our best play at this point is just arrow, unless we choose to cycle High Evo now, and then hope to draw into Hulk next turn, which might be our best bet. Or we can just anticipate playing Doom and cycling and trying to play for a win that way, which I think that's going to be our better option. So we see a Red Skull instead. And we draw into the Wasp. So it's either Jane Foster or one other card. This is very, if they have the Taskmaster, I definitely do not feel confident in this game. I think we go with the Doom cycle though. And then we drop the Wasp left in hopes of maybe we pull out some sort of miraculous win. They're just playing one card, so it's probably just the Taskmaster. So in this case, it would have been beneficial for us to just save the arrow. We could have pulled the arrow, or pulled the Taskmaster into the right lane with the arrow, which is one of those instances that I wasn't fully anticipating because we were planning for the Nimrod, which would have been a bit easier for us to handle as opposed to the Red Skull Taskmaster. But I hope this has given you a bit of an insight into this deck, guys. It was built to play up against Loki, and we did not run into a single Loki matchup today. So keep that in mind when you decide to play this deck. I still think it is very strong, and it's very fun to play, trying to hit those high rolls. I mean, just this game alone, we did some anticipatory play by expecting Jubilee to roll into the Lockjaw, and so we played the Wasp into it. And so our turn 4 was Jubilee pulling Lockjaw, cycling a Wasp into Chavez. I mean, that's stuff that no other deck is going to do, and I think that's pretty exciting and fun stuff to do. So even though we took a 2-cube loss, it was still a great game, and a lot of cool and interesting stuff that you're able to do with this deck. The Shuri Red Skull Taskmaster deck, it's back on the top of the meta right now. Alioth will probably change that. That deck that we just played in the last game, Alioth will probably be able to run through a deck like this, because you can anticipate that turn 5 Red Skull, and you've already, like, you can just run Alioth through that. Red Skull's gone, Taskmaster can't be played, and you've won the game with that Alioth play. So the Alioth deck will definitely counter the Shuri deck immensely, like a hard counter for it. But I think both of those decks almost feel kind of bad playing into us. I think if we would have just played our arrow right, we would have been just fine. So the arrow is going to be the key card in this matchup if you guys choose to play this deck, making sure you're pulling that Taskmaster over into their Red Skull Shuri lane, because then they're just way overloading power into this one lane, and they wouldn't have any power in the other 2 lanes. And we would have won that with Scorpion Wasp easily, because they wouldn't have had anything. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This deck was just kind of a brief look into something that I'm trying to climb with. I might try and push to infinite with it, I haven't fully decided if this is the deck that I want to try and take all the way there though. But yeah, it's the deck I'm kind of trying to rock with now and kind of master the plays for. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.